There was also one more I wanted to have open. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So in the first session, I mentioned that we had been working with 62 different businesses in Nordic country, and that was in a project called GreenBiz. And historically, what we have started off with in, for example, in Europe, is that we have been very much focused on the green business models. As I mentioned in the first session, we nailed it down to 4 areas. So resources and material. Then we have the waste, we have the pollution, and then we have biodiversity. And the biodiversity has been added very much to the latest around this green, which is actually the first, you can say, parameter that we measure on the triple bottom line. So now another term comes in here, and that is back in 2000, I think actually in 90, but then it was published in 2004. There was a framework called Triple Bottom Line from Elkington. And he talks about these 3 areas where you have the environmental, you have the business, and you have the social. And where we started off was on the environmental area. But then coming back also to the model that I tried to show you in the first session with the 2 triangles, where you have the business, you have a business model portfolio, you have the business models, and then you have the dimensions. And then if you take the value proposition dimension and take it out, then you have the business model components. If you take the customer and the user out, then you have all the single user and customers. If you take out the value chain, you have the primary and secondary function, all the small tiny bits. If you take the competences out as a 4th dimension, then you have the human resource, you have the technology, you have the organization system, you have the culture. And then the 5th dimension is the network. Network in our sense is not, as I started with the introduction, it's not about Facebook and 10,000 you are in network. It's actually about the suppliers and sub-suppliers. It's about that who are they, list of them. And then as the 6th dimension is the value formula. And don't be scared that you can't remember all of them right now. You will never forget them when we are finished in 10 days. So the 6th dimension is about how do we calculate. It's only about the calculation, the formula for calculating on money, and in our framework, other values. So we can also calculate other values. We don't just have to calculate on money, which means the price times 1,000 pieces, and then the cost, and then the earning. But we can also measure on the impact on other things, and that can other values, which could be related to the sustainability on the environmental dimension. It could be the green, but it could also be social things. So we could have a wonderful business model. Let's say, for example, the Meta. But on the green parameter, it might be a very, very black business because it's sucking so much energy out. So here I'm trying to introduce something that we're going to work on it might be that we are promoting ourselves as green, but if we go out and look at our value chain and we look at where do we get our energy, it might be from coal to run the meter. So the seventh dimension is the relations. And we had two types of relations: physical or tangible and intangible. So here you have a tangible relation, a string, and I hope it gives some sound over here. Are we sure? Yeah. I have then some intangible here where I can do all sorts of things with this one. So it's like it's intangible, but these can come like wireless signal. But when I'm looking at you, I can see that you are very hungry. And some of you are thinking, oh, when does this professor stop talking? So you're sending me signals with your eyes and with your face. And this is what I have learned, and this is what we are training our supervisors, that they should look at the participants in the labs, because then you can see if it's going well or not. Do we have to stop now? No. Okay. So because when they are trained, and you cannot be a supervisor after one session, you have, and people are different. So they can say, yes, we want to be sustainable and circular and green and so on. But then 2 minutes after, they throw away plastic. So it's really difficult. So just to make it one step higher. So what we learned in the first lection was about a single business. We have the triangle. Shall I mention it again? Business model portfolio, business model dimension, business model component, and then we have the ecosystem. It's also called the opposite butterfly. It's innovated by one of my researchers, Ole Horn Rasmussen. But the interesting thing here is, what if we think about that the world is not created of just one business? I know Elon Musk, he would like to have one business. But that's not where we live. We are actually an ecosystem of many businesses. So there you can see that we have the triangle, the opposite butterfly, but it's now with another business, and another business. And some of them are competitors to us. If we, for example, are in the textile, we are competing. We want to kill that butterfly. Then we can either class it, or we can spray it, or we can shoot it, or whatever. That's what we learned from Philip Kotler, because he comes out from the war strategies. But what if we thought about that the cake, we could create the cake as big as we would like together, so we complement each other. So if you don't have anything to do on a Sunday morning, you should really read the book of Nadelhoff from one of the famous universities, where they have a book called co-opetition. So you actually co-opetition. You still are not letting each other being lazy, but you are actually complementing each other. You are kind of having the cake to be larger. So the thing here is, what is getting more and more popular is that you have some businesses that decide to come together in what is called a symbiosis business model network. So one is Green Lab, and I think a little bit later we can show a video of Green Lab. I don't know if we can show videos on this one. we can prepare it for next session. But what is the clue here is that businesses, as you can see in the right corner, you can see the hexagon representing different businesses. They are actually coming together to work with each other. So one's waste is another's resource. And when you do this, you start on a very large journey. I worked with this Green Lab in 2017. We started off in 2020. We had built Green Lab, and now it's a test bed of a new technology within circular and sustainable energy for EU. And I heard yesterday there was a huge business that are now coming into it to value the network. So it's kind of a closed network with special conditions, where you can even have business from outside that place a branch of the business inside this network, and then they work together and become circular and sustainable. Here is Green Lab, and you can see we are standing here. It's totally green field, nothing except one thing, which is very peculiar. You know what is under the ground? Waste and garbage. This was a place where the cities around, they dumped all the things that they didn't like to see it and be close to. And in Norway, it's the same. They have an equal symbiosis network. It's also, this new symbiosis network is built on top of a waste place. And what you can see here is that to have these businesses to come together, you needed to find out who they were and so on. And here I use the tools that I'm going to teach you. So I went out to all of the businesses individually and tried to understand what is their opposite butterfly, what is their B-boards, and by doing that, I suddenly had a data on about 20 businesses. Then I brought them together, and then we started to work with them. And then some of them, they run away. They said, no, we don't want to do this. We don't want to be involved in it. Some of them stayed. Some came on. So this is just an example of you can go on the website Green Lab, and then you can see, you can take a tour in it. What we have here is we have let me see, just a moment, I just want to, here we have a big road, and up here we have a biogas plant. It is a little bit funny, it often starts with a biogas plant, with taking, the manure from the farmers, and then they turn it into biogas. And over here, I think just something up here, we have one that produces proteins out of starfish. And starfish is a challenge for the fishermen, because when you fish clamps, then the starfish eat it. So they have found a technique to take up the starfish and then send it here to this factory, and then it makes expensive protein. So you can see you have a kind of a business model here, where you're actually taking something that fishermen do not want to have, and then you make it into some valuable business models. and you'll see. I'll give you more examples of it. Then you have on the back side of GreenLab there, you have all the dumping of used packaging, paper and carton and so on. This is the reason why a British business, it's not just Danish business, a British business invested 400 million Danish kroner to make tables with used paper and carton. You have one business called Sky Clean, and Sky Clean takes plastic and make it into petrol or something that can be used in a biofuel. Then you have windmills because you need energy. You have a lot of different things in here. But one thing when you do this, you have to understand that you need to get more competences inside. So I told very clearly to those who built this one, you need to have researchers. Peter, you were just saying that because you are a researcher, you want money out of us. Yes, of course, but I will also generate some knowledge for you. Okay, knowledge, yes, it might be worth, yes, okay, we'll do that. So you have to take 5% of all what your turnover is here and give me, not just me, but so you see, this is why some of the most famous researchers, they come here, because this is a test bed. So they can test the new business models, new technology in the future. This is also what I would love to do here, is I would love to have a lab here and then be allowed to experiment with you. Because if we can have these hubs around, then we can get a better understanding of business models and so on. This is another one. I'm just giving you shortly these examples because this is a higher level, and my new PhD is only focusing on this, and I need 5-6 more PhDs in this field. And I know that I need money. We still have some business model where we need money. We cannot just live on nothing, on other values. So I'm trying to find some that would fund this. Sotenes symbiosis network is built on a rock. And usually there were 3 of the Europe's largest fish industries. And you know what they did in old times? When they were cutting the fish, they just pour it in the sea. Then it's away. Many different things. And here's a very interesting business model. So a researcher from the University of Chalmers in Göteborg, she went up there. She studied the water that you use in eggs. This is on the backside of these slaughtery of fish. And then she found out in the water that there was a small ingredient that was valuable. I think it was about 1,000 Danish kroner per, I think even it was a milligram. It was very, very small, but it was very expensive. And you know what that can be used for? So you have to imagine it's eggs with where the eggs are laying, and then before they turn into being a fish. You know what was in it? It was a small thing that could be used for cosmetics. We know cosmetics is expensive. But it can also be used in solar cells to make the solar. The last thing is in this introduction is one project that I'm working on. I'm not there yet. I need some money, and that is my responsibility to fund this project. So the whole thing here is that a man has found out to dry anything. So if you put, for example, waste into his machine, he can dry it so that it can be used in what is called a pyrolyse plants. And here comes the waste from households and from many different places can be then turned into something that is valuable. There is a little critical thing about it, because you have to be careful, because there could be some polluting things in it. But we will solve that. We'll have some engineers to work on that. But the whole thing here is, I just go very quick. That is that you have the dryer here, and you have a dryer over here. Over here, sorry, I'll take that one first here. Over here, you can have grass from the fields that are dried and then turned into small pills that can be used to feeding the animals. But the thing here is that it doesn't really work business-wise, because to dry grass is a bad business model. You can't earn money on it, in Denmark at least. So you have to figure out some other business models around it. So what you do is you take the grass and then you squeeze the grass, so you have a kind of a liquid. And this can be used for protein, you can turn it into protein. But the pulp you get out of it can also be used. So then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 business models. And that was the reason why I was going to tell you this story, because I think the circular and sustainable business modeling is about multi-business model. If we can approach multi-business models, we can get a very good business case. But if we just focus on, getting rid of our waste best possible, then we can dry it, we can dump it, we can do it, then we will never get it. So on the other side, you have all the waste from the city. Let's say Delhi delivers all its waste to household waste to this plant. And then what we get out of it is when we are drying. And here comes an interesting thing. This technology can actually get 80% of the energy that it uses out again. So when you you need energy, but this technology can actually get 80% again out. Because when you are driving it, you are actually putting it into the heating system. And you can actually use it, reuse it again. So it means that you get more business models, and some smart technology can actually make it even better economically. You get out of this, you get also some biocoal, and this can be spread on the fields. It's already done, but the farmers, they don't really like it, because what's in it? But if we could put some fertilizer around it, then you can have small pills that you could spread out, then they will be interested. So this one we are coming up with, we hope that we will get it this autumn, and it will generate potential for more PhD students to help us on this. Okay, I think I have more or less finished this slide deck. I don't think I need to mention that we are running 3 conferences every year. And this conference is WPMC. It will take place it took place in Sharda University in Delhi. It's going to be in Bulgaria. Our research group does very much is that we invite students to write papers with us. and then we publish them on the conferences, and you come and present it, and then we would very much like to do that. Also, because then you are kind of starting up maybe on an academic career or whatever. It's very interesting. Yes, I think we have to switch to the next slide. I won't go into details with this. I'll show you. Let me just see. Yeah, this one, yes. I think. Yeah. That's good. Okay, just the first. Okay, so now I go a little bit more theoretical, and there are two things. One thing is on the circular and sustainable, and the second thing, which I think you will enjoy very much, is on the business modeling. I have already introduced some of it, so let's go next. So what I mentioned here in the first introduction is that we started off with focusing on the green, and then what we saw was, if I consider these as green business models, is that most businesses, they didn't actually have a green business model. So it was very difficult for the society and governments and so on to push the businesses into to having a business model that was green. And then the way the society and the governments, they actually treated that, was that they started to change the business model of the ecosystem. So what you have to imagine is that what we call the business model ecosystem, nobody has screamed in here. So now, from now on, it's not called market; it's called business model ecosystem. They change all the dimension of the business model ecosystem. So then, by 2024, all large businesses in, for example, in Denmark, they are forced to measure how green they are. It's mandatory. It's like, if I made something that was illegal on the traffic tomorrow, then I fine. So these large businesses, they simply get a fine if they don't live up to the standards of being green. The challenge is here that how do you measure green? And the same question you could put to sustainable, and you could put to circular. So now the large business, they are very smart. Some of them are cheating. because those who are controlling it, they cannot actually overview all, and they cannot measure, and they can come to the business and then they can see that it's green, but once they left the business, they do or everything else. So another thing where they are very smart, but this is very, very critical if you do that in a large business. If you cheat on this and somebody finds out, especially the customers, then you can get in a very bad situation. But then what they do is they push the task of being green to the sub-supplier and the suppliers. So it's kind of, I guess this is called upstream, is it? They push the task of being green to the subsupplier. So many Indian businesses, small and medium size, have been forced to turn green. They can scream, they can do a lot of things, but if they want to be a supplier to bestseller or whatever, then they're not able to it if they don't live up to the standards. And then, of course, you need to have somebody that controls. So that it means that you hire some more people, which actually gets more cost. And then you can see, then the business model starts to be a little bit iffy. So many SMEs have been suffering and been working hard to get this to become green. And even at a time, for example, bestseller, they said, no, we are not going on with this. We will stop it until we are in a better condition, simply because the SMEs are dying. We are taking income out of them because we are forcing them to turn green, because we have some rule sets over here. So that actually means that the people in the small and medium-sized businesses, the employees have in some cases suffered because somebody was focused on being green, and they didn't care about if they had a business over here. So here you see a model that is quite famous from a Dutch a Dutch researcher, where you see all the pinpoints of the environmental, the economic, and the social. And now you can see actually, and we come into the triple bottom line here, where you can see that what is interesting here in the environmental is resource efficiency, energy efficiency, and several other things, water efficiency, emission, CO2. So one hot topic in this area is, of course, reducing CO2. And we have this Paris climate deal, which has been tried where countries have tried to sign deals on reducing CO2. And latest, Mr. Trump has just withdrawn, and several are also not living up to what they have agreed upon. And of course, if one business or country said, no, I don't want to do it, or they don't do it, they cheat, then you have a very bad situation, because then you have mistrust. And this has been one of the major focus on the green here. And we have, in Denmark, for example, we have not had any choice. We have simply been forced to be green, because some years ago we made a heavy investment in windmills, which brought us first on the technology on windmills. So the government have believed that if we do that also on the green, then we will also be good at that. The challenge is, however, the latest reports on green technology says that those who are number one in the world on green technology, that is the Chinese. And the report says, also related to the Draghi report from the European Commission, says that Europe have lost the game. We were number one in the world on green technology, but we are not anymore. We are behind. I can't remember exactly the number of green technologies, but I think maybe out of a list, we have lost the game on a list of 50, 44 is we are not number one, and the story is also that they don't believe the experts that we can be competitive on these technologies. Then you can discuss how they do it, but nevertheless, the ecosystem runs, and that's how it is. The business we will come back to, but what we see right now is that the focus on the social part is extremely hot, and we have several initiatives with different ways of accounting and so on. We have tried to make a simple model here, overview, where we have the green down here with material resources, as I mentioned before. We have the waste, we have the pollution, and we have the biodiversity, which I mentioned before. Then on the back side, we have the sustainable business model. We also have that related to the SDG, and I will just show in the next slides how you can work with this, because when it started with these goals, the trouble was that the business, they thought they should go for all of these goals, SDG goals, but that they will simply collapse. It's not possible to do that. And then you have the circular over here in the backside, where you actually have from the cradle to the cradle philosophy, where you think about that every time you take up some iron, then where does it go, and how does it come back, and how can we protect it so it still keeps on being a raw material that we can use. I think in many of the models that we have seen, the time perspective has not been so much involved, and except on the circle here, the circular thing. And then, as I said before, a lot of businesses, to cope with these goals and so on, they have, with the green, they have tried to cheat. There has been a huge business around buying and lands and having somebody to grow trees in South America. So, for example, some of the big car manufacturers in Europe, they have actually planted tree in South America, and then they have calculated what does one tree give of reduction in CO2, and then they have been able to keep on doing their business with, you could say, a kind of a black business model. So all kinds of business model innovation have been done in this, and you can have a meaning about it, but it has been really, you also have the CO2. So CO2 is now calculated in Europe at a certain price. So it means that you trade with emission. I don't know if you have that in India, but it means that 1 ton of CO2 reduction means actually that you can earn money on. So this has been a big thing. We have also now a new thing introduced in Denmark, and that is that if you are having some what is it called? When you have a farm in Denmark, you now have to pay a fine if you have something polluted going out to the stream. And that can pollution. That means, for example, that you have some components that can actually make the sea not functioning, and the fish cannot live there anymore. So the more you reduce, and if you don't reduce, you will get a fine, and it's calculated on a ton of these ingredients. So, as I mentioned, we had the GreenBiz project, and here you can also see that the triangle is in the back side of it. And here I actually propose that the question is here for businesses and you as students also is to find out which of these business models are green and how much. So if we start with the green, for example, you could go in and have a look at a business model and say, okay, what about energy? What about resources? What about waste? What about pollution? What about biodiversity? And it might not be that you should be green on all parameters or the business is on all, but you can go in and just on this. And then as we propose is that you are on a journey. And the question is if you will ever reach the optimum of being green. I think it's extremely difficult to be pure green. Also because you have so many business models. So that's strategically many of the businesses have chosen to take 1 or 2 business models out and make them green. So all the measuring things is, of course, a big and a huge challenge because how do we do it? How do we do it? And I think the first thing we need to do is we need to agree upon some way we understand green and sustainable and circular. And many researchers, you can see in the middle here, I will recommend you very much to have a look into some of these that are mentioned here, because they have done a great work on kind of fiddling out what terms can you measure this on. I have a research group that I collaborate with in Copenhagen called and there's a lady called Pironi. This lady here in Netherlands, Bokken, I would recommend you very much to have a look into her, because she's I would consider her to be one top of the world's researchers on defining all this. So what you can see here is that actually we have just taken out a small part of this and placed our green business model here. And then I actually wanted, I think we are running out of time, is that right? Yeah. I wanted actually to show you a video. And I have it down here, just a moment, see if I can find it. If, oh, sorry. Because I just wanted to show you some examples. Then we'll take the video in the next session then. I will instead give you some examples of business that we have worked with. So here you have a business in Sweden. It's called Kungshamn Fish, and it's a business that work with storing different kinds of fish products. And to store that, they need cooling. They need frost, and that consumes a lot of energy. And they have also ice machines, because when the fisherman goes out, they need fish to be cooled down as fast as possible. But ice machine is very, very heavily energy consumptive. Then in the warehouses with the frost, they have to use special lights that are very energy consumptive. So what they have focused on is actually in the first time to get measurements on how much energy they were using and where. So what they did was they made small sensors that they put on each of the devices, and then they measure it. And I think I can show you just here. So what they did was, in all these machines, here you have the ice machine, and here you have some compressors and so on. They put small, tiny wireless measurements on all the machines, and then they used a software from a business called Ramoni. Ramoni, and then that business was able, wireless, to send data into a monitor. So you could continuously see who was consuming energy and where. And in that investigation, they really they really found out where the critical points were, where they could actually reduce energy consumption. The same, I just go to another example. This one, this is a furniture business. One that produces a sub-supplier of to kitchen industry. They did exactly the same, and they've also put the sensors around the factory. So our students were out there putting all the sensors together with some experts, and then measuring it. And then they could sit at the university and continuously overview the business on where were they consuming energy. So if I go back to just this model here, so you see they have decided only to measure on this green parameter, material and resources. That was a strategic decision. They didn't care about this and this and this. They just decided to go in here and see what can we do here. But you still have these three to consider. And I think that is very much the game. That is that you have to decide where you want to focus. The second case is a scrap business, and it's scrapping old cars, and they want to be the greenest business in scrap business ecosystem in Denmark. So what we did was we did a workshop where we simply teared 5 cars totally, broke them up, and then we started to think about what can we do with this material. So we had the experts, we had designers, we had the students, we had a lot of people around to just find out what can we do with this used material. How can we do a business model on this? I will come a bit back to this, but you can see this is another kind of, if I go back to this one again, you can see they focus on waste. They focus on the waste parameter and only on that. They didn't care about the energy. They care about the pollution in some way, but the waste. And the thing is, when you work with this business here, the scrap business, that is that often the car is just dragged into a big machine, and then it tears apart, and then it takes out what can be used, but it's and the small tiny parts are taken down to the harbor, put in a ship, and sent to India. Because it's not possible in Europe to sort it. Then it's hand sorted here in India. And I don't know exactly what they're using it for. But then in a green perspective, you could think about, is this really green? Because try to imagine the sail route with a ship, with the energy and all this. It's maybe not the right way to go on this. I just have yes, you know also about the ships that are teared apart on the shores. That's in some sense also the same example. Here you have another way of treating used cars. That's a big machine that can actually go in, and then instead of using human labor, which is very, very expensive in Europe, and it actually means that on the business parameter we discussed on the environment and the business parameter, it doesn't give sense. You won't earn a good business model on that. Then they have found a machine that can do some of the things, but not in a very nice way. So all the resources that you have in it will actually be broken and will be not usable for the future. You say stop? Yeah, I close down then. I have some more examples I will show in the next coming example, because now we come a little bit closer to the real businesses. But I would actually propose that we try to play a little bit with the tools in next lecture. Okay? Fine.